All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a rather unconventional Dion's Daily Dose. I will say this. You don't look much like Shawn.
No.
A little. I mean, the glasses.
He's prettier than me. It's okay.
I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean,
He's smarter than me.
No. Okay, so look, he's more educated on the government.
The federal level.
Especially the federal level. But that's okay, because you know what? I think it would be good from a uninitiated perspective, right? You haven't, first of all, thanks for being on the show. I think it's better than me just, scrolling down through.
Just people staring at your face and
right?
nothing else.
But, as adorable as I am.
My other face.
What?
I'm not going to do that. Sorry.
As adorable as I am, sometimes it's good to have another perspective.
That's true.
So, first of all, let's start with, how much do you know about DOGE? Oh, for those of you, by the way, who didn't see the social media messages that I posted, Shawn unfortunately had an emergency right before the show was able to go live that required his attention. So
you swooped me in my
lovely wife graciously agreed to be on the show to provide a little bit of a different perspective. So how much do you know? First of all, how much do you know about DOGE?
Here's what I know about DOGE.
Okay.
People are freaking out as if this man and this department can just swoop in and make all these changes.
Right. Can just do whatever they want.
And go against the ones who control the pocketbook of our country, which is Congress.
Right.
It's an internal audit.
Okay. So you understand that it's just an audit.
But maybe I can explain it in a way that will help.
Okay.
When you decide, we need to save money for a vacation. I need to save money because I just want to build my savings, whatever the case may be.
Right. Okay.
Typically, normally you should look at your spending, figure out what's going where. Am I paying for a subscription I'm not using? Am I door dashing too much? Where is the money going and what's it going on? That's all this is. Companies do it all the time. Right. They do internal audits. They find out where the spending's going. They make a report. They present it to whoever it is, whether it's your bank statement, that's the report, or the accounting department.
Right.
Here's what we're spending. Here's our budget. Here's the percentages. And he's making a report and giving it to the government officials who will then use that to make the budget.
Right. In order to cancel, like, for example, extraneous expenses that we, the American people, are not in favor of. And I'll say obviously not in favor of, because Donald Trump won handily.
Yes.
It was a resounding message. So I figure what we'll do, we'll actually get it. Have you looked at the DOGE.gov website more than just briefly?
I've gotten breakdowns, like, here's what DOGE found today. But no, I haven't looked at the actual site.
So you haven't actually gone into the site and looked at. Okay. No. We my middle son and I last night did a little bit of a cursory examination of it, but tonight we're going to do a far more in-depth dive onto it, for lack of a better term. Okay, so let's see here. I'm going to see if I can. That did not do. Okay, no, that's all right. So go to your browser, type in doge.gov. Actually, as a matter of fact, hold on. Let me change.
Bookmark?
Well, yeah, I'm going to change how I do this, though. Give me just 1 second, because it's not sharing up. Excuse me. It's not showing up the way that I wanted it to when shared. There we go. That's how I want it. Okay. Now, I'm going to put us at the bottom so you guys can see. Just straight to doge.gov, doge.gov. And this is where it takes us.
Okay.
All right. So when you first land on this page, the first thing here, the first page you land on is the basically X feed of doge.gov. It shows their posts. And
it's a very simple website.
It is. It is very, very straightforward and very simple. And then, of course, there's the follow on X button. Yay. One of the interesting things, put us down here again. If you look up here, it says that Department of Government Efficiency, which is DOGE, right at the top, an official website of the United States government. Under Department of Government Efficiency, the people voted for major reform.
And this is not the first time that something like this was actually going to be done. It was cheered on when President Clinton.
Absolutely.
It's not the department, but it started with an R. And there's actually video of him saying, we're going to cut what's wasteful. We're going to trim the budget. And it was applauded. Elizabeth Warren.
They all got
when
behind
she
it.
first got elected back in 1842 or whatever it was all for looking at cutting wasteful spending. Everyone's for it.
Yeah.
Till they get into it.
Well, here's the thing. Everyone's for it until it's time to put up or shut up, right? Or until the other party suggests it.
And I'll even say this. I know that there were a lot of votes for and against Rand Paul's most recent trim the fat.
Yep.
Both parties voted yes and both parties voted no. So look and see who voted no.
Exactly. Pay attention, guys. Pay attention to people, to your elected representatives. Pay attention to how they vote. Pay attention to how they treat their department heads and people who report to them. Pay attention to all of this, because your recourse is the ballot box.
Senator Kennedy voted to trim the fat, and he voted for the Rand Paul.
Yep.
So we were talking about him yesterday.
So if you look here at the website, right, we can scroll down and there's lots of claims, right? Like, for example, here, Lee Zeldin had said, update, I just canceled another 21 wasteful DEI and environmental justice grants with the help of our amazing DOGE team, racking up $67 million more in savings.
Okay.
DOGE said, good work by Zeldin EPA. This was yesterday at 12:36 a.m. Today's contract update, 95 cancellations with savings of approximately $115 million, ceiling value of $235 million approximately, including 2 USDA contracts. What are these contracts for? $265,000 for a, quote, food and nutrition service 3-day leadership retreat in Atlanta.
That is not for the kids.
And another $30,000 for, quote, Malaysia study tour facilitation services.
That's not even a complete song.
Right. It's at best, guys, it's money laundering, in my opinion, at best. At worst, it's fraud and outright stealing from you, the American taxpayer.
That old joke when you see the budget is $30 million for a hammer.
Right. Really, they're not spending $30 million for a hammer, $50 million for a flashlight. They're shuffling that money to where they want it,
right,
with no oversight. And that's really what it's about, is the oversight. We want to know where our money is being spent.
Right. And a lot of the backlash I'm hearing, that they're not saying that he's wrong. They're not saying he's incorrect. I know there's that thing with the whole cobalt language.
Yeah.
But other than that, they're not saying he's wrong. They're not saying he's not right. So, they're saying, how dare you tell us what to do?
Right. So let's just briefly, let's talk about that cobalt thing, because that's one of the things that I've seen kicking around for a little bit. The claim is that the reason there are people who are 150 plus years old on the Social Security rolls is because the programming language that they use to create the spreadsheets to create the programs to monitor this stuff is COBOL, COBOL. It's an older programming language. And apparently there's a date thing in there that either if you leave it blank or the default setting or something, it sets to that. So that's the explanation. However, I'm seeing a lot of counters of that with, even if that's the case, you have to leave the date, the birth date portion blank. So we're not getting the real information anyway.
I heard something about, if that was the case, when Y2K, the fear that it's going to wipe the computers, it would have wiped that. I know that they totaled it up to 21 million numbers, 20 million numbers. And then they were saying, where did 20 million voters go on the last election?
That's
and
a good question.
Is that reflective of those 20? Like, do those tie together somehow?
That's a really good question.
And
do
why
those
are we
go
not
together?
upgrading our computer language and usage?
Right. And that's another thing. It points directly to the inefficiencies at the government level. Okay. So let's start up here. Savings, right? This takes us directly into a huge list that says, let's balance the budget. DOGE's total estimated savings are $55 billion, which is a combination of fraud detection, deletion, contract lease cancellation, contract lease renegotiation, asset sales, grant cancellations, workforce reductions, programmatic changes, and regulatory savings. They're working on uploading it to a digestible and fully transparent manner with clear assumptions. But right now, it just has the top 10 agencies, total contract savings, right? Which we can't click on. But if you scroll down on this page right here, there is a wall of receipts.
It's very easily readable.
And I think so. And we're not going to go through every single receipt. But I do want to show you guys how easy this is to read. So you look here and
I'm not a computer person.
Right.
At all.
Not at all. I'm the computer guru of the house, and there's plenty of stuff I don't know. If she has an issue, goes, come fix this. Right.
I did fix my problem yesterday
fix once,
when the cat laid on my keyboard and turned up to 1600% magnification.
Yeah.
I fixed that.
But you had to come ask me how.
I know. I still did it.
But you did it, yes. So here's an example, right? Right here in the center of the first thing, $850,000 in Bloomberg subscriptions.
That's a lot of subscriptions. What's the average cost for one Bloomberg?
That's a good question. Like, how many subscriptions is that?
And that's not the right word.
Right.
Subscription.
So what's nice about this that I actually like is if you click on it, it brings up just this little box, right? But if you click down here, view on FPDS, it will bring up the actual contract, a screenshot of, right? You can see everything in here, including the date it was signed, the period of performance start date, completion date, estimated completion date, solicitation date, and how much it is, base and all option value, contracting agency, etc. So we are paying, guys. Now, I don't know, like, if you guys know this, but Bloomberg has a very, very slight bias, right? Just a little.
Now, you could counter and say that this is for newspaper subscriptions for the employees in the offices, and all of that.
Which, let me ask you this. Do you think that all the employees of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau need a subscription to news?
I would say this.
Okay.
If they do need subscriptions to financial newspapers, then in order to do their job, they would need a complete picture of what's going on.
Okay.
So is it only one subscription? Is one organization or agency being the chosen one and everyone else being phased out?
Well, here's the issue, right?
And I'm not advocating for this.
Or against
right.
it. We're just talking. Right.
And I would also ask how many staff are in office,
right, versus virtual
remote working,
right? Because here's the problem, right? And this is just contracts. Look, if you clicked on the see more or see all button, right? Renew West Print subscription, $21,000. Annual subscription to Politico, $255,000. Bloomberg Terminals, $178K. Bloomberg government subscription, $850,000. Politico Pro, $635,000. Washington Post, $127,000. Wall Street Journal, $216,000.
This is giving me like 1980s downtown Chicago. In the office, you have all the newspapers for everyone to read and for visitors to read. Is it necessary? Is there a way that maybe if an employee needs a subscription to Wall Street and Bloomberg, that they could expect, well, maybe it is expensing, but get a discount. Like, are we working with discounts here?
You know what? That's a great point. Why do we have to spend subscription money to basically get everybody in the office a subscription to Bloomberg, for example, Politico, Bloomberg, hell, even Fox News? Doesn't matter. Why are we paying for this when a much better solution is to leverage the buying power of the federal government to negotiate a massive
I would say that there are probably jobs in certain departments that do require access to financial newspapers.
Sure, yeah. But not Politico. I mean, in my opinion, right? Politico,
there could be
Wall Street Journal
or
maybe.
two,
right?
Maybe, and I don't know the grand scale, and I'm not advocating for doing this, and I'm not saying cancel it. I'm just saying I don't feel like a lot of these departments explain to us. Okay, yeah, DOGE found 180 subscriptions. Here's why. It really is this mentality of. I was expressed by Elizabeth Warren. You don't need to know what we spend the money on.
Which is crazy, isn't it?
Explain it.
We, the American people, should absolutely know where they're spending our tax dollars. It's our money, not theirs.
When I submit my expense report at the end of the month, my expenses are pretty static. They stay the same. But I have to explain, here's an entry for X amount of dollars, and it is for A, B, and C. And I have to explain why my company is paying me money. Can we do a heads up like, okay, DOGE found this.
Right.
This is what it's for.
Yeah.
And there could be a very valid reason for this.
Right.
That we would understand.
Right. I could see, like, for example, one person in an office has a subscription so that they're able to access, like you said, financial data, reporting, whatever, especially at the consumer, like Credit Protection Bureau or whatever. Okay, I could kind of see that. But every single person in the office does not need a subscription.
No. And this is why we need these departments, after they've been audited, they should be submitting, I would even say, a report.
Right.
We found this. Let's justify this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about this. But it really is this vibe of, you went through my phone and caught me cheating. I'm not explaining anything.
Right? It really is like that. Yeah. How dare you not trust me?
Right. Explain. I had to explain on my expense report why I'm expensing Grammarly. It's because I don't spell very well. And Grammarly helps me. And my boss went, okay.
All right.
Explained.
Okay.
Expense,
there you go.
Explanation. We're all fairly reasonable. I mean, you're going to have those people that are like, don't give them anything, one lump of coal.
Yeah.
But if I'm hearing, for example, the press secretary, well, that would make sense if he or she had subscriptions to everything.
Right. That would make sense.
No. Let's get some explanations. Don't act like how dare we ask questions. Let's talk. Let's have a conversation.
Okay. So looking at this, right, one of the things that I am noticing, and whoever Timothy J. Lundagan LLC, or I should say whatever that is, to support the implementation of the USDA's Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Accessibility Project Management and Data Analytics. Because DEI isn't enough anymore. It has to be DEIA for accessibility, because you're not diverse enough unless you're also accessible. According to this, the total contract was for $2,035,756, and we're going to save $920,000 by canceling the rest of the contract, because it was supposed to run until 8/1 of 2025. So we're going to cancel it, and we're going to save $920,000 of your money. I don't hate that. Get rid of it.
I'll say this. I support any plan, though, that gets more people interested in farming and continuing our farming, even if they do need help and I'm thinking taking it from a social services disability viewpoint.
Okay.
If there's an individual who wants to be a farmer but they're in a wheelchair, well, let's see what we can do to help still make that possible.
Okay.
But
are they?
There's no explanation on what this means and what it's for and what it's going to do.
Okay.
They're just making these contracts
I
without any reasoning.
So here's another example of that. AMA Consulting LLC, DEIA Assessment and Training Services, $25 million. And it goes on and on and on. DEI, DEI, DEI. And then, of course, we have an LAC gender equity facilitator at the Department of Agriculture, $31,940 that we saved.
And go to the one right below it.
Yep. Hold on.
No, down.
Okay. Tell me.
Down.
Oh, this one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. South Asia Climate Change Mitigation, Adaptation, and Resilience Expert Services for Forest Service IP. Management. This is going to Management and Engineering Technologies International, Inc. $279,675. Why are we not able to save any money? Because the contract completed January 30th.
This makes no sense.
Exactly.
This is
why are we spending money? First of all, why are we spending money on South Asia's forests in the first place? Climate change, adaptation, Forest Service crap in South Asia. I don't care about South Asia's forests. I care about the ones here.
It goes back to, this is not U.S. aid.
Right.
A lot of people thought it was U.S.
U.S. Yeah, it was USA.
USAID.
USAID, exactly.
Which the whole goal of this is to spread the message, to spread us
democracy
nationwide.
Right.
I find it's really hard for me to, the people who are now defending this and saying that this department should go on as it has. Just a little while ago, they were saying how this is the worst country in the world,
right?
And we're so backwards, and we need to be like other countries. Which is it? We're so backwards. This is the worst place in the world. We should be like other countries, or we have to spread our reach all over the world. You cannot have it both ways.
Okay, so for 5 months, I'm looking at this one here. Okay, we have a contract for $546,772, over $500,000. And what is this going for? USDA Office of the General Counsel, Politico Pro, and E&E News subscription renewals. Okay, Politico Pro and E&E News subscription renewals. Period of performance: 9/24 of 2024 to 9/23 of 2025. So 1 year of a subscription to Politico and E&E, whatever the heck that is, over $500,000. $546,000 for a subscription to anything that is is ridiculous. I'm just saying. So obviously that's a joke. It's ridiculous amount of money for any kind of subscription. $500,000 for a year of anything.
I think it's important that for everything they find, those departments need to come up with a reason.
Oh yeah,
we're not getting any reasons.
No,
so
of course not.
To run to,
we're getting
our worst imagination.
Exactly, the worst thing our imagination can come up with. Here's one for DiversityCom Inc. for $500,000 for advertising.
For what?
Right.
Again, they need to answer. What are we advertising for? Is it a worthy thing?
Department of Agriculture, and there's a
not worthy thing.
There's a $500,000 one and a $100,000. So they got $600,000 of your money to advertise for something. Here's another to procure E&E.
That chocolate milk does not come from brown cows.
Right.
This is why
doesn't matter.
These departments need to go before Congress and answer for each of these things. again, it's very much like I'm not going to tell you anything because you went through my phone. You don't need to know.
Right. Yeah. How dare you?
Explain.
You don't trust us?
Explain.
No, I don't trust you at all. And there are, look, regional gender and Gabon program manager services for Forest Service IP.
I believe they're talking about a primate.
Yeah, well, I thought that was like maybe it is the Gabon, like as in the
I'm not
ape,
really sure what that
but
is.
right, I am not sure either. But either way, $37,000, for a month and a half of whatever it is.
I don't know.
Dude, I wouldn't mind making $37,000 for a month's worth of work.
True.
Here's something: Evoke Research and Consulting, Service Strategy Planning and Business Capabilities. Red Maple, whatever the hell that is.
If they talking about the tree,
right?
Again.
34.9, so 35 million freaking dollars for strategy planning.
Again, this is something that each of these departments needs to be brought forward. And
but they're not going to. So we can, I know we can. I agree with you, but they're not going to do anything. So their Handshake Software Suite, HRES, National Hiring, apparently that's $5 million. Leadership Development Program for Nebraska, Minnesota, and Iowa.
Well, is it for the states so they can become better states? What?
Right. Who knows? That's the thing. A leadership development program. Leadership development program. In other words, here, we'll train you guys how to be leaders. What? Environmental compliance services for the implementation of pilot projects developed under the Partnership for Climate Smart Commodities. Wow, that's a lot to say, give me $8 million so I can fill out some forms, because that's what it is. It's nuts, man. So there are tons of receipts. One of the things that I was worried about when this whole DOGE thing started was when you went to savings, there was a big pop-up that said, receipts incoming online by Valentine's Day. And then I didn't see them. Right? But I didn't see them. But now this is something I want you to see, because this is buck wild. Okay. How many do you know? Like, I think I've told you. How many people do you think work for the executive branch of the federal government?
I mean, are we lumping in and including
all
janitorial,
all the agencies and everything that falls under the umbrella of the executive branch of government?
But are they even talking about the like the people who work in the parking garage? Are they being lumped in, or is it
assume they are? Just assume they are.
Oh, then
how many people you would think that like 100,000 people?
Yeah, unless you break it down into section by section.
Okay. Well,
a lot,
right? But like maybe 500,000, maybe even 600,000 people the federal government is quite large these days. Oh, no.
That's a 2.2.
2.25 million people in the executive branch. And they break it down in a really cool way. If you guys haven't seen this yet, U.S. government, executive branch, they have not gotten to the other branches yet, which fine, because let's face it, that their authority lies in the executive branch. Right. When they start getting elsewhere, now we have questions about constitutionality.
Well, didn't you find out that every year a person in Congress gets like $900,000 to redecorate their office every single year or something like that?
No, it's like $1 million of budget for office decoration. You get over $1 million for staff. You get like a bunch of money. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but when I ran for Congress, I looked into it. It was a lot of money, like a lot of money that they get for quote office supplies.
For a really great sleeper sofa, and then that's where they stay.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So 2.25 million people working in the executive branch of our federal government. The average employee has worked here 10 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was looking at the 5 to 9 bar, and that's higher than 35. You would think that, well, I mean, it does make sense if you're doing it every 4 years.
Yeah, you would think that some stuff gets cleared out every 4 years. The average employee makes $93,828
That's a
per
lot
year.
of money.
Yeah. Now, the majority makes 60 to 70K, 207,000, 200,000, 70 to 80, and it goes up from there all the way.
Also, if you think DC, $93,000 in DC is not rolling.
But you know what?
Who's so high?
Yeah. The average employee is 47 years old. Now, this is, and by the way, total wages for just the executive branch of our government is $211.3 billion.
Well, think of all the people that work in the White House.
$250 billion
in it.
But that's nuts. How many people? Like, there's no reason for 2.25 million people to work for just the damn executive branch. Look at this. Cabinet level agencies, 34. Large independent agencies, 43. Medium independent agencies, 63. Small independent agencies, 119. Just cabinet level, 2,078,428 people, 11,417 subordinate offices with total wages of $190 billion.
How much more do you think that'll increase if we do get a 51st state or we do get Greenland?
Right, exactly. Every year, the federal government expands. Every year, it gets bigger. Every year, they tell us it's okay. We need to take a little bit more of your money, but you're okay because, that's how it works. And remember, according to the left, you don't deserve to know where your money goes. So if you look here, Department of Defense, it's got these and then Unified Combatant Commands.
Are they
12 of those?
Classifying all of the military as executive?
No.
Okay.
This is just the Department of Defense, right?
Okay.
Which is different than, see, you got Secretary of the Army, and then you got Office of the Secretary of the Army, and then the Army Staff, right? So Office of the Secretary of the Army, you have the Office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army, Acquisition, Logistics, and Technology. Office of the Assistant Secretary of the Army, Civil Works. Assistant Secretary, Financial Management and Comptroller. Installations, Energy and Environment. Manpower and Reserve Affairs. And then you have Office of the General Counsel. This is just one. Look how far down we are. Boop, 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 boop. And we have, again, an office full of people. They don't even have the workforce data for this yet. But this is insane.
Well,
look at the small independent agencies.
Let me throw a counterpoint to you. If we're the powerhouse of the free world,
okay,
can we run it small?
We absolutely. So look at how much bureaucracy there is, right? And we've talked about this before as far as the deep state or the unelected bureaucracy that either slow rolls, fast rolls, or blocks agendas, right? These people say, oh, we're not going to make this happen. It's about freaking time that we got a president who said, no, you're going to make it happen, and is letting people go that don't. Now, this is buck wild, right? So anyway, if you guys, by all means, visit this site, look into this. They have not done the judicial or legislative branch yet. But if you click, look through these agencies.
I would say it definitely makes you think and question a lot.
Exactly. And you know what?
That's good.
All other BS aside, right? Whether this is effective, ineffective, whether this is necessary for the United States government to be this big, this is a great, easy to digest way for the average person to look and go, how big is our federal government? And really get an idea of the scope that we're talking about here. Because look, we haven't even, hold on, there's one more thing I wanted to see. Let's see. Large independent agencies, is that, Yeah. So here's Social Security Administration, 42 offices under it. Look, Office of Analytics Review and Oversight, Office of Budget Finance and Management, Office of Chief Actuary, Chief Information Officer, Civil Rights and Equal Opportunity, Communications, Hearings Operations, Human Resources, Transformation, Retirement Disability Policy, Office of Operations, Legislation and Congressional Affairs, General Counsel, Inspector General.
What I find funny is, at least in Indiana,
Mhm.
if you go to the Social Security offices, they don't have anyone there in person.
Right.
Everything is done, you have to
Online.
call in or done virtually.
Mhm.
When COVID happened, everyone that was in office went virtual and has not returned. Well, not everyone hasn't returned.
Right.
It's too presumptuous. A large portion hasn't returned. So how do we still have all these people when no one is?
That's a
doing
good
anything?
question. Exactly. So if so many people are still working virtually,
Mhm.
right? Number one, freaking why? Get your ass back into the office. Like, well, you don't go to the office. You work
Don't
from
go to
home.
the office.
But that's
But
the
it's
way
been
the
set
job
that
started.
way. Yes,
That's
it's
the
been
way
like that
the
from day
job.
one.
Yeah, that's the way you were hired. Look at the Department of Justice, guys. 116,613 people with 318 subordinate offices with total wages of $5.7 billion. Underneath the DOJ, the Attorney General, right? Deputy Attorney General. Look at all that. Bureau of Prisons, Executive Office for U.S. Trustees, Office of Justice. For one,
I would say look at what can be combined.
that's what I was going to say. Look at all of the different tons of offices that we have, right? It has grown and grown and grown and gotten to the point to where good luck finding the office that you need
Right.
in order to actually fix something. So here's something you're familiar with: Health and Human Services, right?
Mm-hmm.
91,058 people with 923 subordinate offices in the Department of Health and Human Services.
I would say that number is probably bigger because Medicare is federal, but Medicaid is state. That's all lumped under Health and Human Services. So each state has its own set of offices.
Yeah, but that doesn't fall under the executive branch. That's state level.
But it's
So
all
it's not
a branch off of the Department of Health and
it
Human
might be
Services.
it might be a branch off, but it's not at the federal level. It doesn't
Right.
fall under the executive
True.
branch. So it's not like here. So for example, Office of Medicare Hearings and Appeals, Office of the Inspector, which has 6 subordinate offices, Office of the Inspector General, which has 10, Office of the Secretary, 28, Operating Divisions, 22, Program Support Center. So Medicare Hearings and Appeals, right? You have 22 Deputy Chief Administrative Law Judge offices, 6 Office of Management Executive Director, which is Division of Financial and Administrative Management, Human Resources, Management Information Technology Division. And they're still populating this. But Deputy Chief Administrative Law Judge, now this is Medicare Hearings and Appeals, which is very, very important. Let's be absolutely clear. I am
Yes.
100% in favor of Medicare for the people who are entitled to it.
Mhm.
But the question is, do we need an Albuquerque field office, an Arlington field office, Atlanta, Cleveland, Miami, Kansas City, Irvine, Denver, Nolens, Phoenix, and
I
Seattle?
would counter that if we maybe had more field offices, the process could be smoother and it could move quicker. Because if you look at let's take the New Orleans field office.
Okay.
That's not just New Orleans. That's New Orleans
That's
and
correct.
everything around it,
Mm-hmm.
which slows things down.
Okay. Perhaps, right? And I don't know. I'm not going to pretend I do. I don't know the full process of like applying, all the hoops that it goes through, and then this judge and that judge and all that stuff. I have no idea. But why don't we just streamline the process, and then you shouldn't need it's a federal agency, which means my thing is everything should either be in Washington, D.C. or spread out all over the country individually. We don't like.
And also, I would say this too. If you meet the requirements for the state Medicare, and let's also take Social Security, which is actually, even though that's part of the federal government, it's controlled completely different in each state. There's no cohesiveness.
Okay. You're talking about Medicare or Medicaid?
About Social Security, the
Social
actual
Security
disability.
That's not a state level thing. That's a federal thing.
It's a federal thing, but the application process and wait times for Indiana are different.
Oh, I see. Iowa. Okay. No, that's a fair point. Okay.
So,
but I would argue that that's more to do with all of these bullshit satellite offices instead of unifying stuff.
It's actually
and expanding.
It's not satellite offices. Each state handles the entire thing. Here's what I'm saying.
Okay.
If every state would just get on the ball and say, okay, the requirements for Social Security are A, B, C, and D. You've met A, B, C, and D.
Right.
That means you're entitled to it. Here you go.
Right.
Instead of, quite often you hear people say, I applied for Social Security, and it's like they made me wait so long to see if they could break me.
Yeah, that is something.
I get the benefits.
Right. That is something that I've heard. Actually, you bring up a really good point. That's something that I've heard from more than one person.
Right.
Is when you apply for whether it's Social Security, whether it's disability, whether it's whatever, they will starve you to death. They will starve you and make you wait months and months, sometimes years and years and years, usually years. And there's they basically take it right up to the line because there's there's some kind of time limit that they have of like 5 years.
It's almost like they want to see if you'll just give it up and go to work
and go back to work.
But Indiana is one of the worst states to apply for and be given Social Security. Whether it's now, this is not, I reached the age of 65, 70, whatever. I'm ready to go. This is actually your disability, whether it's you're hurt at work or you're born disabled.
Okay.
Why don't we have each state on board following the same, and this is bureaucracy, following the same rules, the same timelines, the same this.
Right.
And it's not size of state because California is quicker than Indiana and California is bigger.
So I will say this. Okay. One of the issues that I hear from especially those who are not exactly supportive of Social Security disability programs is, well, the more people we can deny, the less fraud and waste the system experiences from the people who apply but are not actually disabled.
Right.
So if they can make it stretch out, then those people who are not actually disabled can get their asses off the couch and go to work if they want money.
So then same counterpoint could be said, oh, well, you're 72 and you want your disability. Can't you wait another 12 months? If you wait another 12 months.
It's not disability at 72. You're talking about retire Social Security.
Right.
Yeah.
But why? You're 72. Can't you work another year?
Yeah.
There are set guidelines and set rules to make that say you qualify if you have this injury, if you can't do this, if you can't do that, if you've reached this certain age. If every state would just stick to that, I think that could smooth up at the federal level.
So are you actually saying that there are different requirements for approval for Social Security disability depending on the state that you live in?
I would say it's easier to get, I've heard it called SSI is what you get when you haven't paid enough into the system. Yeah,
because there's two different types of Social Security disability. There's
SSI, which is commonly referred to as the crazy check.
Right.
That's what they used to call
Supplemental Security Income is what SSI stands for.
Right. Which is you did not pay enough into the system to get your disability. So we're going to give you an extremely low level of money per month. I want to say it's around $800 to live.
Yeah.
SSDI is what you think Uncle John fell off the roof. He can't work anymore. He gets a disability check.
Okay.
I've seen people that I work with that are obviously disabled have to go to recertify and prove that they're still disabled.
Right.
They don't speak. They can't walk. They're in a wheelchair.
whatever. Right.
Why are we going through this? And that's just more bureaucracy.
Okay.
Why are we going through this stuff? Why are we making Dave prove he's disabled by having him attend 6 hearings and 5 different doctors that the Social Security office pays for when he can't walk? He cannot work.
So I would argue that one of the, and I guess we're getting a little into the weeds on Social Security.
But I think it would smooth up at the federal level if the states could get it together.
Right. I agree. Well, we're not going to go too much harder in this. But here's like, so we're in the cabinet level agencies here, right? Department of the Navy, 40. Department of State, 80
Why
of these
is there a
sub-offices.
Department of the Navy, a Department of the Army, a Department of the Armed Services?
Right. But yeah, let's go back to that.
All be together?
That's a great point. So we have the Department of Defense, right?
Right.
Department of the Navy, Department of the Army,
Department of Veteran Affairs.
Yep. Department of Homeland Security.
And then Department of State. Those could be one, it would be a large office.
But the Department of State is already freaking massive. Look at this, guys. 14,316 people are employed by the Department of State. $1.9 billion a year that you and I spend on these people's salaries. The average employee makes $129,803 a year. I wouldn't mind a salary like that. I'm sure you wouldn't either. Look at all this crap. Bureau of Global Health Security and Diplomacy with 46 subordinate offices under that. Bureau of Intelligence and Research, 31 under that. We will go through these. Bureau of Legislative Affairs, 10 under that. Then, of course, Office of the Chief of Staff, Counselor of the Department, Deputy Secretary of State, D. Deputy Secretary of State, D-MR. I'm not sure what those are. Executive Secretariat, SES. Office of Civil Rights, S/OCR. Office of Diversity and Inclusion. Okay, so I see what the, okay. So I don't know what the MR is up here, but like ES, Executive Secretariat. So I'm guessing State Department / ES, Executive Secretariat.
How about Office of the U.S. Coordinator for the Arctic region?
Oh, yeah. Yep. There you go. They have their own office and apparently their own bureau. Office of the U.S. Global AIDS Coordinator and Global Health Diplomacy, PEPFAR.
But this is what happens when you have USAID branching off, and we have to keep making all these offices because USAID is funding all these initiatives, and someone has to staff the initiative because we put $2 million into it.
Right. Look at U.S. Security Coordinator for Israel and the Palestinian Authority.
Well, someone dropped the ball on that.
No workforce data yet, but like that's do we really need that as a sub office to Department of State itself?
I think we have to decide, are we going to be in everybody's business globally? Because if we are, if we're going to be in everybody's business about every single thing globally, including the Arctic, we're going to be huge. But if we would just say, you know what, we have to focus on us for a while. We could par it down.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
If we're everywhere you want us to be and where you don't globally, this is just going to keep growing and growing and growing until there is no more money left. And I've heard someone say we are on the course for that.
Oh, yeah,
where
absolutely
there will be no more money.
Yeah, we are so far in debt as a country. It's so almost impossible to understand when you look at how in debt we are.
Yet they found 10% of our budget was in Medicaid going overseas to people who don't
even qualify. Exactly.
And that's like, I heard 10% of our budget, if we had just had that, 10% of our budget we wouldn't be in debt.
So your question, right, regarding the size of the executive branch, we were talking about how many people, and you're like,
Mhm.
well, that ain't, that's the White House and all of this. If you look down here at the bottom, by the way, it says here, workforce data excludes military, so it doesn't include the military,
Okay.
the U.S. Postal Service,
Right.
not included, the White House and all the staff there,
That's a lot of staff in the White House.
intelligence agencies, and others. So that's excluding that. We're talking still 2.25 million people.
How do you account
10%
for that
of the
many
population.
employees?
Right?
Like,
Exactly.
we had what was it, one congresswoman who had missed 6 months of session because
Yeah.
she was
In a
this isn't
nursing home,
slam
right?
against her because she had dementia.
Right. It
And
was nothing against her.
basically, she didn't really know where she was.
Right.
But how do you keep track of 2 billion employees?
Million with an M.
Sorry, 2 million employees.
Mhm.
Well, what's at that point?
But yeah.
Time sheets, attendance,
Right.
benefits.
Exactly. There's no way you can be efficient. And so that's why those people that are like, well, that's why there's all these sub offices. So look at giggity Office of the Legal Advisor 69, bro. Look, here's an example of what we're talking about. Office of the Legal Advisor. They don't have the workforce data. This is a really quickly thrown together thing, but look at this.
This is an example that we have our hands in everybody's cookie jars.
Everywhere. Afghanistan, Pakistan, South and Central Asian Affairs, Office of African and Near Eastern Affairs, Office of Buildings and Acquisitions, Consular Affairs, Employment Law, blah, blah, blah. You guys can see it. And if you can't, I highly recommend DOGE.gov. Look at workforce, guys. U.S. government, executive branch, cabinet level, Department of State, Office of the Legal Advisor, and we have an office for every region and more. Like, in my opinion, tons of these could be put together. Now, I have heard people say that PEPFAR has done some really good things. I have no idea, but apparently that's who's responsible for like the AIDS vaccines and stuff. It's the Global AIDS Coordinator and Global Health Diplomacy. So let's find out, what is PEPFAR? U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. It's a global initiative to fight the HIV/AIDS epidemic. PEPFAR is the largest commitment by any country to combat a single disease.
Globally?
Yep. What does PEPFAR do? Provides HIV testing and treatment, supports orphans and vulnerable children. Well, how can you be mad at that? Prevents HIV infections in men and boys, strengthens healthcare systems, and supports health work.
Okay.
How does it prevent HIV infections in men? Legitimate question, guys. How the frick does one place stop AIDS?
Well, it doesn't, because we still have it.
Yeah. So
my thing is, and maybe I'm too isolationist in my thought process.
Okay. I'm not. Here's the thing. I'll say it. I'm a nationalist. You know why I'm a nationalist? Because I care about my nation. I want the United States to succeed.
When we still have children going from foster home to foster home, I'm not even talking about the foster care system.
Right.
It's a completely week-long conversation.
Oh, yeah.
In garbage bags. They have their belongings in garbage bags.
Right.
But yet we have money to go globally to handle HIV and take care of orphans in other countries, which
here's the thing.
We should be taking care of our own orphans. There should be no children going to a new home in a garbage bag. And
that's it exactly. So we are spending trillions of dollars overseas, right? While we have veterans on the street, we have homeless, we have people starving to death in the richest country in the world. Why? Because we're sending our money to other freaking countries who do not even like us in many cases.
Our mental health resources, we have none here.
Sad.
We just had, this was hearing about it today. The second instance of murder suicide that we had in the region.
Oh, yeah.
In a week.
Right here. Yeah. Region news.
But
yeah.
But we have money to give to everyone, and we tell our people, sorry about your luck.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have it.
Yeah, we don't have it for you. That's like, and that is exactly why President Trump won the election at the margin that he did, is because we, the people, are looking at the money that our country is spending on bullshit, absolute garbage across the world. And we have people right here who can't afford to pay rent. They can't afford to buy groceries. They can't afford.
Or Maui, East
right?
Palestine, Ohio.
Precisely.
Los Angeles.
Yep.
And Florida and Western North Carolina. They were still in tens.
Yeah.
We're saying $750 is enough.
Yeah, but we have hundreds of
we're
billion.
Not going to help you find a place to live that's weather suitable.
Right. Yep.
And then we're going to send out billions elsewhere. I struggle, and so do so many people. And that's another reason why Trump won.
Yep.
Because he said, I'm going to take care of
this. He said, this is bullshit. Let's stop it. And you know, you can be mad that he talks that way, but
J.D. Vance and him had gone to Western North Carolina and found housing when they were forgotten, and we carried on and watched twerking on stage for a presidential candidate and send this money over here and do this money with this. It's time we can fix our own problems.
Yes, we can.
The problems that we sit here and say, I wish I didn't see homeless on the street. I wish our veterans were taken better care. I wish we could be energy independent again.
Right.
We can do all that.
Yep.
My heart goes out to those in the world that do not have what we have.
Right.
Because you cannot make decisions and run your lives on feelings and emotions.
Right.
If we did, we would all be 3 years old, because that's what toddlers do.
That's exactly it. So look at this. United States mission to the United Nations. Now, these are all sub-offices: economic and social section, executive section, host country affairs section, legal section, political section, military staff section, management and reform section, management section. There's a management section and a management and reform section. 2 independent offices: public affairs section, security section, and Washington section, because it needs to be different, apparently. Let me show you this real quick. There are literally days worth of information if we were to go line by line, and I'm not ruling it out. You guys let me know if you'd like to see that. But I want to show you this. Doge days. Yeah. But let me show you. If you guys have not seen this regulations tab, this is nuts. Ready? Prepare yourself. Doom, doom, doom. Here we go. This is the unconstitutionality index. This is the number. So you've heard the left whining and crying about unelected people, right? Nobody elected Elon. Nobody elected Elon, right? This is the number of agency rules created by, what's that? Unelected bureaucrats for each law passed by Congress. In 2024, 18.5 rules per law. In 2024, there were 18.45 rules. How many rules? 3,250, 3.25K. 100 for only 176 laws. Go ahead.
Let's not even make this rules. Let's make it laws. There's what? I want to say 2,000 active gun laws on the books.
Right.
And there go. Let's add more.
Oh, of course, because more laws.
What, when you hit 2,084,
that's going to make a difference. Right.
So, like, also, if you want to drink or purchase raw milk, you cannot. It's a regulation and a rule.
Yeah.
Not a law. You can't drink raw milk.
Right.
Now, raw milk is milk that hasn't gone through the pasteurization process. Right. Why not? It's.
And one thing that I want to clarify for those of you who maybe your gut reaction to hearing that is, well, because pasteurization, whatever, was developed and it's there for a reason. It's to keep you safe. It's whatever, right? Bear in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that the FDA is the one who's supposed to regulate our food and drugs, right? They're perfectly okay with red dye number 5. They're perfectly okay with many other things, which, as you know, you guys see the commercials. Have you or someone you love been affected by X medication?
Yeah.
They approve all of that.
If you want to drink raw milk,
this is America. Who cares?
And you know
Except
what
the
it
risks.
is.
Exactly.
Drink raw milk.
Nah, knock yourself out. Check this out. Code of Federal Regulations. 98.68 million total words. 98 million words.
That's a lot of words.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, ignorance is not a reason. Ignorance is not an excuse. You will still, if you didn't know you were speeding, it doesn't matter. You're still speeding.
Find that in the 28 or 90.
Yeah, in the 98.68 million words. Find the law or the rule. 215,000 total sections of regulation. And as you can see, boop, 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 it keeps growing. Federal regulations by agency. Department of the Treasury, 14.52 million words, 16,000 sections of regulation. The EPA, 12 million
Or
words.
like one of the regulations of the EPA is you cannot, in many places, collect your own rainwater.
Yeah.
On your property.
On your property.
You cannot collect the water that fell from the sky
onto your property.
You can't collect it to reuse it to water your plants. Nope. You can't do it. It's a regulation.
Right. Why is that?
I don't know.
Control. That's why. 7 million words for Department of Health and Human Services. 18,000 sections of regulation.
As someone who works in an affiliated field, I completely am surprised there's not more.
Really? 7 million words worth of regulations? That's insane. That's nuts.
That is probably the low ball.
Wow. Department of the Interior, 6 million words. Commerce, 2.67 million. Now, Department of Commerce is supposed to regulate all trade between nations. Only 2.6 million words for that, but Treasury, 14 million. Health and Human Services, 7 million. EPA, 12 million. Words, guys. Nuts. Absolutely nuts. Department of Justice, DOJ, 1.88 million words.
But the Department of Education, which according to them, they are responsible for the future generation's educations, only has 1.25
1.25 million words with 3,000
you would think
sections
that they
of regulation.
Would have a lot more.
You'd think so. Office of Personnel Management, 1 million words.
Social Security Administration only has 887.69 thousand words.
Yeah. 2,000 sections of regulation. So the Social Security Administration is more streamlined than any of these other agencies up here.
Wow.
That is kind of crazy. Commodity Futures Trading Commission, 813,000 words. The FDIC, how many damn words do you need to secure someone's deposit in a bank? Apparently, 750,000. Small Business Administration, 480,000. FTC, Federal Trade Commission, 416,000. Federal Housing Finance Agency, aka what is it, Fannie Mae, or what was the other one?
Freddie Mac.
Freddie Mac. Yeah.
I don't think Freddie Mac's around anymore.
They may not be, but that's where those fell under. 347,000 words with 793. We're not in the thousands anymore. Sections worth of regulation. 793 sections. Railroad Retirement Board, 280,000.
I'm surprised anything of railroads on there because they're their own thing.
Apparently not. NASA, 272,000 with 1.15K sections of regulation.
The people that go to space would have more regulations.
I mean, apparently not. Apparently not.
Space.
The Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation.
Are they the ones that are in that mine down deep in the ground with the papers?
I am not sure. Probably. I know that in order for a government employee to retire, you guys may have seen this on the news. In order for a government employee to retire, they have to send the paperwork to this freaking mine. Literal mine where it used to be. And the office workers there via pen and paper.
Right. They can only do 10,000 employees a year.
A year because of the bottleneck there.
I wonder if that mine is near Cheese Mountain.
Oh, it might be. If you guys haven't heard of Cheese Mountain, personally, I recommend Fat Electrician.
Cheese Mountain
to learn about Cheese Mountain.
Ice cream in World War II.
So the United States Postal Service, ice cream ships during World War II was phenomenal video by him. 214,000 words.
They need to get their act together. I think maybe they need a little bit more words or something.
But they need more oversight. That's what they need. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, 265,000 words with 512 sections. Farm Credit Administration. Farm Credit Administration, 260,000 words with 739 sections of regulation. National Archives and Records Administration, 203,000 words. Federal Election Commission.
Maybe more words.
199,000 words. Office of Government Ethics. I'm just picking stuff out, guys. By all means, go take a look at this. It is jaw-dropping. The level of bureaucracy that has been baked into the system. Federal Retirement Thrift Investment Board. There's a name for you. Legal Services Corporation, United States Agency for Global Media. National Transportation Safety Board, Selective Service System. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar, the Selective Service System is who you have to register with if you are a male
and you turn 18.
And you turn 18 years old. You have to register with the Selective Service.
If you don't, it's a crime.
If you don't, it is a crime.
And regardless of disability, it doesn't matter.
Yep. You have to register.
You could be blind and nonverbal and unable to walk. I mean, I'm taking this to the extreme.
Yeah, but these are people...
You still have to register with this.
And these are people that you've worked with. For those of you not familiar, my wife is a Medicaid waiver case manager, which means she deals with those with intellectual and physical disabilities, some of which are very extreme.
Yes. And we have to tell parents, and they'll be like, well, what is that? I'm like, well, that's if there's a draft, we're going to come take your baby. Our boys signed up. It's just something all boys have to do.
Yep.
And
now
the odds of you getting picked, especially if you have a disability, probably aren't going to happen.
Right.
We're not going to do what Ukraine did and draft individuals with Down syndrome to go and fight.
Yeah. Well, they claim that was Russian propaganda. Just saying, I don't know for sure.
It's a very weird kind of
it's a weird,
angle.
that's a strange Russian propaganda.
Pick Down syndrome people.
I don't know, but that's the claim. Just so we get it out there for those of you maybe that maybe say, oh no, that was. I put it out there. I don't know if it's true or not. I have no clue. And
everyone kind of gets stored up in case there's a draft.
Right. In case there's a draft, they'll go into the Selective Service System. If they decide to reinstitute the draft, they'll go into the Selective Service System. But just so you guys know, it is a contractor that the government hires. Yes, to do this. This is not actually run anymore by the U.S. government. It is contracted out.
It's just a database.
It's just a database, yes.
Because they're just storing the numbers, and then once an individual hits a certain age, they drop off.
I think it's 25. I think it's 18 to 25.
They drop off.
That's just my guess. I don't know.
You can set up an Excel spreadsheet to literally do that.
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see exactly how much money we spend on the Selective Service System. Let's see here.
typing is getting so much faster.
It is, isn't it? Whoops. $31 million.
I'm pretty sure we can come up with a computer program that would do that for a couple $100,000.
Right. $31 million we pay for a company other than the government to keep track. By the way, guys, yes, these people already have all your information. So those of you who are concerned about Elon Musk potentially learning something about you that you haven't already shared online.
Or did you have PayPal?
Right. If you ever had PayPal, you already knows everything. Office of Navajo and Hopi Indian Relocation. I wasn't aware that we were still relocating people. It is, isn't it?
It's just not Office of Native American Affairs.
Yeah, Native American Affairs. I can understand that. Why is the Office of Navajo and Hopi Indian Relocation its own thing, for one? And why is there 49,000 words with 239 sections of regulation just on Navajo and Hopi versus? Yeah, that's weird. Pennsylvania Avenue Development Corporation.
That is.
Presidio
like the
Trust.
White House and things like that.
The White House is on Pennsylvania Avenue, but I don't know. Committee for Purchase from People Who Are Blind or Severely Disabled. Give me some money.
No, I don't.
What is that? What?
I don't. I have no idea.
Well, let's not forget about the African Development Foundation. Federal Mine Safety and Health Review Commission, Office of the United States Trade Representative, Advisory Council.
I don't think it's a bad idea to have a department that makes sure those who work in our mines are safe and healthy.
Right. But these are all things that should be under another office. Right. But anyway, these are it's just showing the bloat, the regulations. It goes and goes and goes. Now, Federal Permitting Improvement Steering Council, whole 121 words with 2 sections of regulation.
Like with the wheel or guiding the federal permitting improvements?
Right. I think it's to guide the federal permitting improvement thing. Oklahoma City National Memorial Trust.
The Appalachian Regional Commission only has 77 words in one section of regulation.
And one section, yeah. East-West Foreign Trade Board.
That is one of our poorest and most in need regions of our nation, and they get 77. I'm not saying these words and regulations are a good thing, but they get 77 words in one regulation. Meanwhile, that area is ravaged with mental illness and drugs and disability and poverty.
You're absolutely right.
They get 77 words in one section.
Now, if you go to spend up here, this will show you the agencies and their budget for fiscal year of 2019 and 2024. So let's take Department of Health and Human Services, for example. In 2019, this is $1,213.8 billion with a B. So what it actually is $1.2 trillion was HHS budget in 2019. It has now ballooned to $1.7 trillion or $1,720 billion. That's insane. That's nuts. Almost $2 trillion. And the frustrating part, guys, isn't that the money's being spent. Yeah, it's seriously like, what the hell, right? With all this money. My problem, though, is with all this money we are spending, what are we getting for it?
Nothing. And I would argue that budget needs to be larger. And I know you disagree.
But that's the thing. Here's the problem isn't the budget. I'm going to be like flat out. The problem isn't the amount, right? It's just like with education. The problem isn't the amount. It's how's it being used. And here's a perfect example. Let's move on to Social Security Administration itself, which is the second biggest one. And that is $1.1 trillion in 2019 with $1.5 trillion in 2024. Again, a $400 billion increase.
It's because we live in so many other countries.
Right.
We have an inverted pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
Never before have we had. Usually, you would have your working population would be larger than those who retire.
Mm-hmm.
So it could support that.
So
it's flipped.
I'm going to jump in just real quick. I know what you're saying. Again, that's been the excuse they have given us for decades on why Social Security is running out of money, right? That's the claim. Social Security is running out of money. Well, why? Because of the inverted pyramid and all these people are growing up and aging out of working and they're collecting checks, etc. As we've seen, it is not the fact that the inverted pyramid is there. It is the fact that these people are stealing our friggin' money.
They've been borrowing from the Social Security fund as if it's the petty cash fund.
Look at the next one, Department of the Treasury. It went from $689.5 billion in 2019 to $1.3 trillion in 2024. It doubled.
Yeah, our Department of Defense is not the top.
Yeah, Department of Defense, which you would
it would
think
be the top
but
one.
here's the thing: the Department of Defense spending does not actually include the military. The military have their own budgets, which are not shared.
Okay,
but that's why the Pentagon keeps failing its multi-trillion-dollar audits by multiple trillions of dollars. I cannot personally freaking wait for DOGE to get in there.
To the Pentagon?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Start digging in, see where our money went. As you guys know, whether related or not, it is a convenient coincidence. You guys know how much I believe in coincidences. That
a lot.
Right around 9/11, the Pentagon also failed a multi-trillion-dollar audit. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Make your own assumptions.
It's the saying that whenever something happens, weird. I'm not going to take natural occurrences. But whenever something happens, like a bridge collapse, also don't focus 100% on that bridge collapse because something might be going on over here.
Right.
Focus in different areas.
Yeah. Just keep your eyes on everything. Try to be aware of as much as you can, but at the same time, unplug now and then. Take a breather, whether it's stepping away from social media, the news, whatever. Take time for your mental health because it can be kind of nuts.
Dark. And we're seeing that more and more with people who are upset about these last few weeks.
Right. Exactly.
Just take a breath. Yeah.
Yeah. So look at this. Department of Veterans Affairs, right? Department of Veterans Affairs. That is the VA, period. That is where the money is supposed to go to take care of our veterans, whether it's for benefits, whether it's for mental health, whether it's for housing. That's one of the only ones that I'm like, okay, yeah, budget higher, right? $199.6 billion. So just say $200 billion in 2019. It has almost doubled with $325 billion. What
are they doing with that money?
That's my question, because I don't know about you guys. I have a few veterans as friends, and I have not seen an improvement in quality commensurate with the amount of change.
I will say, though, that one really good thing that happened, and Congressman Yakum did it, is if you are a vet and you are having a mental health crisis, and it would take, and unfortunately, if it would take 3 days, which is in a mental health crisis, it should be 3 hours.
Right.
But
I agree.
3 days, longer than 3 days to get help. You can go to either other VAs and or the hospital or private mental health. Yeah. And the VA covers that.
Yeah, I will give. So I got to give a shout out to Rudy Yakum on that, because he did right.
But you shouldn't have to wait 3 days for a mental health. A mental health crisis is.
I need help now.
You need help now. Before,
exactly. So, and this is what we're talking about, guys. The Department of Education, $104 billion in 2019, now up over $268 billion. Do you guys believe realistically that the quality of the education system in this country has markedly improved from 2019 to 2024? Absolutely not. I would argue the opposite. I would argue that it has deteriorated. Look at the colleges, look at the high schools, look at the videos online of people who are randomly polled, who don't even know the capital of their own state.
And
they have no idea how the government works.
And that's not saying that they're not, that it's anti-teacher.
No.
Or that teachers aren't doing good jobs. Look at some school systems. I mean, we could look at, if you watch The Wire, for example.
The Wire is a really good show.
They only want you in school for the first 2 weeks. They get their funding, then they don't care, and it's a pipeline to prison.
It's a pipeline to prison.
There are school systems that are like that.
That are like that, absolutely. And it's one reason why Trump called out Baltimore. What's really funny is The Wire and other programs have called out Baltimore as being a cesspit of corruption. Right. But when Trump does it, it's wrong. Department of Transportation in 2019, $80 billion. In 2024, $117.4 billion. Guys, are your federal highways significantly better in 2024 than they were in 2019? Hell no.
No.
The interstates suck around
I'm on
here.
it a lot. I could tell you no.
Exactly. Yeah, you travel interstate quite a bit.
Right.
And we're not even, I know we're not even going to talk about the toll road stuff.
All we want. Yeah. I'm not going to.
We're not going there today. So this is just an example, though.
I would like to see the Department of Transportation really start looking into alternative road materials.
Exactly. Yeah. We've talked about this before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
the judicial branch.
All the time. I don't know what gets talked about.
So legislative branch, $5 billion in 2019, $6.8 billion in 2024. Yeah. Yeah. This is, and
look at the executive office of the president. That's really low.
Yeah. Yeah. Comparatively. Yeah.
It's like $5.
Now, what's really funny, General Services Administration.
It's negative.
Why is it negative? Why do you think it's negative?
Because they're cutting us a break.
Because DOGE is revoking the contract.
There we go. Okay.
That's why.
All right.
Undistributed.
I was hoping we were going to get a discount or something.
Undistributed offsetting receipts. In other words, they haven't actually applied the money yet, but looking at these receipts, canceling all this stuff has saved us a third in this year, $1 trillion.
That's a good savings.
It is $330 billion. Now it talks about revenue sources, individual income taxes, right? Mm-hmm. 2024, $2.4 trillion income. Corporate income taxes, $530 billion.
And when you do your taxes, you better explain what money went where and why you spent that.
Yep. Miscellaneous revenue, $43 billion, but it was $85 in 2019. Interesting. Excise, $99 billion in 2019, $101 billion in 2024. Federal deficit. Ouch. Mm-hmm. Fiscal year 2019, $984.4 billion. 2024, like it says down here, plus 85.9% change in 5 years. 85% change. And then the sources are down here. Department of the Treasury, September 2019 monthly statement. Department of the Treasury, September 2024 monthly statement. And there is so much to go
back to what I said, when we as people or families want to build up a savings or figure out how we can save more money, because we all have to do it grocery costs. Where can I cut? What can I cut?
Yeah. This
is all this is, and just a much larger scale.
Yeah.
It's not Elon's coming in and he's going to cut this, and there's not going to be any more Department of Education because Elon said.
Right.
Elon he's
got the authority to investigate
a guy with a clipboard.
Right. Right. He can't cut. Here's the thing. He has certain authorities vested in him by the president, who does have the authority to give people the authority. And he has certain things that he can do.
Right.
But right now, what they're doing is going through this stuff, looking at it, and canceling the contracts that they can.
And then the complaint.
I'm not against that.
He has 19 and 20-year-olds and they don't know anything. Okay. How often do we ask 18-year-olds to put their lives on the line for our country? If they're mature enough to do that, then...
And I would argue
I would say they're mature enough to do this. If we say that children are mature enough to make their own medical decisions across the board on a lot of things and not tell their parents and make life-changing decisions at 9, 10, 11, and that's okay.
Yeah.
How is it a 19, 20, or 21-year-old not mature enough to do this?
Here's the thing. My particular argument on the whole 18, 19, 20, whatever year olds, right? They're not regular average. These are people with a very, very focused skill set.
Right.
And when you have that's like, okay, so I have a friend who was doing some work for me, and his skill set is perfectly suited to that work. Whereas I would not ask my other friend whose skills lie elsewhere to do this type of work.
Elon did not round up.
Yeah, he didn't go to
a bunch of
Caltech.
kids off the street,
right,
and just say, "Okay, check these numbers."
Yeah.
The one kid, and I call him a kid because he's my kid's age. I'm at that age wherever kid is my kid's age.
Right. That's what happens when you get old.
Created a program to scan burnt up rolls of scroll from Pompeii to this is not like my 23-year-old who is into cars and bodywork and video games.
Yeah.
This is a different type of person with a different type of mind and knows how to manipulate and use our technology, our AI, like it's supposed to.
Right. Right.
Don't freak out. You're going to hear all the time, Elon's cutting this, DOGE is going to destroy. All they're doing is looking at the books and making a report. That is all this is. This is a deep dive audit that we've wanted for so long. Don't let the media tell you that we're going to wake up tomorrow and Elon's a shadow president and everything is going to be gone.
Right.
Because that's not what this is.
And so there's the claim, right, that Elon's little boy, X or whatever.
Is it Antichrist? I've heard that.
I haven't heard that one. What I have heard is that he said Trump's not the real president.
He's 4.
Right? He's like 4 years old,
and his
man.
name's like X4Q, whatever.
Right.
But he's 4. Do you know the crazy things I've heard from 4-year-olds?
Right.
They're 4.
They're 4. They say some off the wall stuff. And probably to him, his dad is probably like his hero.
4.
Most little kids, dude. Hell, even big kids. As long as their dad isn't a gigantic POS, their dad's usually their hero.
I don't know if I believe that Elon isn't mad that he isn't president, because he probably is.
It could be. I don't even know.
Also, Elon is autistic.
Oh, for sure.
The awkwardness, the weird ways he holds his hand or stands when he talks.
Yep.
That doesn't open him up to ridicule. It doesn't mean that he's some evil genius.
Right.
But you have a 4-year-old. When Orion was 4, he wanted to be a tiger.
Right.
When Donovan was 4, he said he was an old man farmer.
Right.
They're 4.
Mm-hmm. Right. They're 4 years old.
4.
It says some wild stuff.
And the little 4-year-old people are like saying really mean
things. They're saying some hateful, ridiculous things about this little bitty kid, man. Come on.
Because everyone is afraid.
Do better.
That we're going to wake up tomorrow in a different world because 5 people made a decision.
Right.
That's not possible. Even if the president signs an executive order that you don't like, we have other branches that can change it, override it.
Yep.
Calm
down. Here's the thing. look at the composition of our government. There are more than enough people who hate Donald Trump that if he does anything unconstitutional, they will absolutely stand up and make the American people aware. The problem, though, is they've cried wolf so many times at this point that Trump's this, that Trump's doing that. People are going to have a hard time believing him.
His newly created position for pardon czar.
Oh yeah,
that was awesome.
That was awesome. If you guys haven't seen, I just saw this today. He has created basically a position in the federal government for the lady, I forget her name, that Kim, if you guys remember during his first term, Kim Kardashian, her begged President Trump to pardon this one lady who was spending life in prison for like a minor marijuana offense.
Something like that.
It was crazy how nuts this case was. But he looked at her case. He decided to pardon her. And he has actually made her
the pardon czar.
The pardon
I like
czar.
czar. It's a fun
which
word.
I dig it. I dig it.
And part of her position as pardon czar is almost social service in a way.
It really is.
Where if you've been in prison for 20 years, when you come out.
Hell, if you're in prison for like 5 years.
If you're at home with the flu for a week.
Right?
Things
All
are
kinds of
different.
stuff has changed. Yeah.
Who better understands that than her? And this is a woman who's African American. So where's the I hate women? Trump hates women. Trump hates anyone who isn't white.
Right.
That kind of negates that a little bit, don't you think? When Trump was also doing things that he won't talk about that got mentioned in an interview, like working with Nelson Mandela,
right,
and getting all these awards for working to help the African American community, but he hates them.
Right. I'm going to show you guys up here on the right in the DOGE.gov website is the About button. Now I want to show you guys something cool, and we're going to finish on this. What this does is take you to the whitehouse.gov page.
Okay.
Of basically the White House's announcement that President Trump signed establishing and implementing the president's Department of Government Efficiency executive order, which was signed January 20th, 2025. It's not that long. It's long enough. But I want to read this to
authority
you.
vested in me. That sounds like you're about to marry someone.
Right. By the authority vested in me as president, by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1, purpose. This executive order establishes the Department of Government Efficiency to implement the president's DOGE agenda by modernizing federal technology and software to maximize governmental efficiency and productivity.
Modernizing technology is good.
It is good. Let's look at the what we were talking about COBOL as a language. Look at that mine
no one
shaft.
wants to send an email on a broken computer or faulty software.
Yeah, you guys, I'm sure you guys have gone somewhere, whether it's Jackson Hewitt, H&R Block, Best Buy, when their computer is acting up. Oh my God.
No one wants to use dial-up anymore.
Right. And that's a perfect example, right? Look at dial-up internet. Why would you use that when you have?
People complain when the internet takes too long. It has to go to space.
It's got to go to space, man.
But if you don't want to use dial-up anymore, if you don't want to have to request something on paper or have a carbon paper between two documents,
right?
How could you be against modernizing federal technology?
Right. So section 2, definitions as used in this order. A, agency has the meaning given to it in section 551 of Title 5 United States Code, except that such term does not include the executive office of the president or any components thereof. B, agency head means the highest ranking official of an agency, such as the secretary, administrator, chairman, or director, unless otherwise specified in this order.
Not a secret second president,
right?
Just that agency.
Section 3, DOGE structure. A, reorganization and renaming of the United States Digital service. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. DOGE was not created out of nothing. He didn't just poof it into existence. An office called United States Digital Service already existed. The United States Digital Service is hereby publicly renamed as the United States DOGE Service and shall be established in the executive office of the president. B, establishment of a temporary organization. There shall be a USDS administrator established in the executive office of the president who shall report to the White House Chief of Staff. There is further established within USDS in accordance with Section 3161 of Title V, United States Code, a temporary organization known as the U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization. The U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization shall be headed by the USDS, United States Digital Service Administrator, and shall be dedicated to advancing the president's 18-month DOGE agenda. The U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization shall terminate on July 4th, 2026.
And agenda doesn't mean my secret evil plan. It literally just means this is what we're going to do.
Right.
This is. That's
Every
the next thing we're going to do.
Every president has an agenda.
Meeting, it's like, think of a meeting agenda.
Right.
That's what they're talking about.
That's what they're talking about.
Agenda is not.
Right. The things that they want to implement. Joe Biden, his puppeteers, his puppet masters, they had an agenda as well. The termination of the U.S. DOGE Service Temporary Organization shall not be interpreted to imply the termination, attenuation, or amendment of any other authority or provision of this order. C. We're halfway.
This is a long one.
It's a longer one, yeah, but it's important, and this is why I urge everyone, especially when we're dealing with something like this, go to the source, read what it actually says, not what Politico tells you it says, not what MSDNC tells you it says, not what Fox News tells you it says.
And it's hard sometimes. Our attention span is shorter.
Absolutely.
Chunk it out.
Yep.
Chunk it out. Read one of those little letters a day.
And then come back to it. C, DOGE teams in consultation with USDS, each agency head shall establish within their respective agencies a DOGE team of at least 4 employees, which may include special government employees hired or assigned within 30 days of the date of this order. That just means he wants this done at every level.
And I'm reading ahead a little bit, but it really sounds like the goal is for the DOGE team to meet with a team from each Department of Agriculture.
Can we get there first?
Okay.
Agency heads shall select the DOGE team members in consultation with the USDS administrator. That's the U.S. Digital Service Administrator, the person in charge. Each DOGE team will typically include 1 DOGE team lead, 1 engineer, 1 human resources specialist, and 1 attorney. Agency heads shall ensure that DOGE team leads coordinate their work with USDS and advise their respective agency heads on implementing the president's DOGE agenda.
This means if we're all misunderstanding the Department of Agriculture and what these contracts are and why they should have them in newspapers, form your team and meet and let's talk about what all this money is going for. There's a clause right there. So it's not Elon makes all the decisions.
Exactly.
But they're not doing this.
Section 4, modernizing federal technology and software to maximize efficiency and productivity. A, the USDS administrator shall commence a software modernization initiative to improve the quality and efficiency of government-wide software, network infrastructure, and information technology systems, IT. Among other things, the USDS administrator shall work with agency heads to promote interoperability between agency networks and systems, ensure data integrity, and facilitate responsible data collection and synchronization. In other words, bring this crap up to date. Stop using MS-DOS. Stop using,
I still use
old
Yahoo
ass
for
computer.
my email,
and that's fine. You can use Yahoo.
Don't use dial-up internet when you have
a T1 line
regular
or gigabit.
Don't
internet.
use a rotary phone. Who would use a rotary phone when you could use a smartphone?
Right, exactly. So
I would. I miss
and more importantly, make it the same across all the agencies so they can transfer information freely between them. Communication. B, agency heads shall take all necessary steps in coordination with the USDS administrator and to the maximum extent consistent with law to ensure USDS has full and prompt access to all unclassified agency records, software systems, and IT systems. USDS shall adhere to rigorous data protection standards. So for all those that are, because I've seen them, people crying that, oh, DOGE is publishing classified information.
No, they're not.
They're not, because they actually needed these agencies to tell them what the stuff was. And they knew the purpose of asking, right? We're asking for how many people work for you. We're going to publish that on the website. Here you go, X number of people. Oh, well, you can't tell people how many people are employed.
They're not listing names and dates of births and social security numbers.
It's insane. This executive order displaces all prior executive orders and regulations insofar as they are subject to direct presidential amendment that might serve as a barrier to providing USDS access to agency records and systems as described above. In other words, if there's something that has been previously done, get rid of it. Very simple. Section 5, general provisions. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect 1, the authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof. In other words, the executive directors, head of agencies retain their power. No one's saying otherwise. 2, the functions of the director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. In other words, nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect the functions of the director of OMB relating to budgetary, administrative, or legislative proposals. And B, this order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. C, this order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person.
Meaning Elon can't go buck wild,
right?
And close things and end things.
Right. He is very limited on what he can do.
He's
and they made
making the report.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's very clear. They can, if given the authority, which they were, they can terminate contracts that they feel are unfair or a ripoff, like $500 million or $500,000 for freaking Politico subscriptions. Bruh. That's just one example, though. All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen, thank you very much for doing this. I appreciate it. She didn't want to. Initially, she was like, do it yourself. This is your thing. Go do your thing.
I was working on my thing.
I know she was working on her job, but she was kind enough to take a little bit.
Working on my thing, not my
thing.
job.
Sorry, working on her thing. Pardon me. She was working on her thing, and no, she was working on something. And so when unfortunately, Shawn had a personal emergency that he had to take care of, and these things happen. So I was like, wow, I already scheduled it.
Right.
I don't really want to.
I was working on, I'll tell you what my thing was. I was working on my thing because I want to be the LaPorte County Republican Party secretary. So I was working on that. We have our caucus to reelect party officers. So do the Democrats. So everyone. Yep. March 1st.
Yeah. And if you are a precinct committee person,
you will be hearing from me.
You should have either gotten a letter in the mail and an email. I think you'd be a great.
Well, you are a precinct person, so you'll be hearing.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? As a precinct committee person, I'll be voting for whoever else is. I'm kidding. For whoever else is running, I'm just kidding. Obviously, I'm going to vote for you.
That day.
Right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your time. As always, we'll see you guys again real soon. We got some good stuff coming up, but I hope that you have a wonderful evening.
Saturday night. Go have fun.
Right?
Find some
Go
joy.
have fun. Enjoy it. I'm actually I got roped into playing D&D with Donovan as soon as we're done. So it's going to be continuing the campaign, which we'll tell you guys about.
Gnomes and
Yep, orcs and ogres and
I'm gonna eat that steak
dragons.
you cooked. I'm hungry.
Yeah. All right, guys. God bless you. God bless Indiana, and God bless the United States of America. See you again real soon. Good night.
If you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/Dion's Daily Dose. This has been Dion's Daily Dose, hosted by Dion Bergeron. Executive producers, Shawn Holmgren and Michael Beebe. Copyright 2024. Dion's Daily Dose, all rights reserved.